What's up, guys? Lucas Still with Optimum Athletes. I'm here with Steven Talbert and then our guest, Joey Skracic, the pitching coach over at Delta Junior College. Joey played at Delta, and then he played at Campbell University in North Carolina, and this is his first year running things over at Delta. So first of all, thanks for coming on, Joseph.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So just want to kind of dive into this. Being a guy that trained using Driveline protocols and weighted ball system, how are you implementing that practice? Since I know a lot of coaches kind of say either there's not enough time or it's tough to do, with 20-plus guys. How are you able to take these things, bands, shoulder tube, wrist weights, plyo balls, and find time for that and implement it into a full team practice while not, missing out on all the other things you got to do in practice, such as bunties and all that other stuff?
Yeah, so for us, we have roughly about 20, 23 guys on our staff. And usually we try to fight for somewhere between 45 minutes to 50 minutes each day before we got in any team affiliated stuff. And what we try to make sure that we accomplish is that there is some stuff that we have to do. So we're going to make sure that we do our J-bands, our shoulder tubes, our mobility work, our hurdle, hip ankle work. We're making sure that no matter what, we're getting those things in. And that's pretty individualized to the guy. In terms of that, but in terms of the plyo balls, you just need to make sure that you guys have it grouped out. That's the number one thing that we try to make sure that we have accomplished. For us, we have a pretty large plyo ball. We have 8 spots on our plyo ball. Like, those 8 spots need to be utilized at the same time. Guys need to be going through the routines at very similar times so that the next 8 guys that are going to come in can get on the wall right away and be able to get their work in. So just making sure that you're actually in the area where your guys are warming up is half the battle. So a lot of coaches will try to go away from the area of where their guys are warming up because you're on the bench talking about God knows what. But just being in the area with your guys to making sure that they're going to be doing things a little bit more accountable, holding themselves a little bit more accountable, to make sure that they're going to get the most out of their warm-up. And just your presence there. You don't have to say anything. Just you being there is going to make your guys going to be able to do it correctly. It'll flow a little bit faster. Exactly.
Yeah, that's I've heard coaches say, guys that do the Driveline stuff or do this whole process, like, they take too long and they end up missing team stuff, and we just don't have time for it. Right. So, as you said, if you're there, I feel like, this stuff, if you gotta spend your attention on it and actually, pay close attention to making sure that you roll out, make sure that you do your bands correctly and all that stuff. But it's not going to take you 2 hours to go through all the stuff if you're doing it the right way. So just being there obviously is a good thing. And then you guys also rotate guys in and out, as you were saying, right? Different groups kind of go.
We're trying to create a group similar atmosphere. We have a group up into 4 groups for us, and that's kind of what we use, is just like a 4-group system, and they'll rotate just kind of on their own. But ultimately, like, doing some extra little things, like if you want guys to make sure that they're foam rolling, like, hey, you have practice time at 2 o'clock, like, instill that idea in your guys, like, hey, like, you need to be out there by 1:45 at least. Like, you need to be able to get out there, get your foam rolling in, whatever you need to do, because let's say we only have 35 minutes that day to get into, we're going to go into a scrimmage, so the field's going to be used. Like, we need to get there a little bit earlier, making sure that our routines are covered, making sure that you're getting in enough work. And I would go on a limb, say guys that are like routines that are more than an hour long, like outside of like your really high-end professional guys, like, you're probably going a little bit too long. Like, you just need to be a little bit more deliberate about how you're going about your routine.
Figure it out type deal.
Exactly, and be able to just understand, like, when you have less time, like, what are the most important things that you need to do when you warm up.
Have some feel.
Exactly. So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's easy to blanket it and say, you just can't do it. We don't have time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you give those guys, like, when you say, like, certain days when they're scrimmaging or whatnot, do you let them know at the beginning, like, hey, today we only have 30 minutes, so make sure you guys are on top of it, or hey, you guys got to be ready by this time?
Well, each day, me and Coach Peters try to make sure that we have the practice plan done by about 9 in the morning. And when we do that, we'll send that out to our guys to make sure
so you're on top of it.
Yeah, so we're making sure that communication levels are all there, so that there's no surprises when they get to the field. If we need to make sure that we need to get extra work in, like, guys are going to get out there a little bit earlier and making sure that they get their work in. So obviously, like, the time constraint is what everybody has to deal with, but it's all about how you plan, and it comes down to a lot of things too, is like being able to give that freedom to your players to make sure that it gets done, because obviously as coaches we're not allowed to be there all the time.
Scariest part for most coaches.
So so you have to make sure that you can instill it in some guys to make sure it gets done.
Well, if you have that, like you just said, if you have that just a little bit of organization on your part to kind of have that plan done ahead of time, you can let guys know, like, hey, here's what we got today, here's your window.
Exactly.
So let's get done. We need to get done. Let's go about our business with some, a little pep in our step, but don't skip out on anything either.
Yeah.
Do you guys also have to for you guys, like as far as intensity-wise, recovery days versus high rep days, all that stuff, do you map practice around that? So maybe like on, say, a high rep day, maybe that's days that you guys do your bunties and you have to make infield throws, and maybe the days that they don't have to throw in practice, maybe you have recovery days, or does any thought like that go into that?
I think we don't really try to structure our practice around it because we have so many guys.
Right.
I would say in season we structure it more around like, hey, bullpen days. Like if we know we're gonna have a defined bullpen day for our relievers, if we have a little bit more break in between games, we'll make sure like that practice is gonna be focused around bullpens.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, not really. If a guy's like a no-throw recovery day, like he's not going to throw in the PFP drills. Like he's going to just flip it over or just fake a throw or whatever it is. We can make sure that we get those throws in some other time. But we just try to make sure with having 23 guys, like if I have 6 dudes playing long toss and I have the other 17 doing like team defense, like we're okay. We got 17 dudes on team defense. There's only one guy on the mound. Yeah. So if those extra 6 guys are getting their work in, making sure they're getting their work in, then that's what matters.
Right.
So just making sure that we're using your time as best as we can.
It's so being able as a pitching coach, one, to understand like, hey, you're on this program. Here's what you have today. So if you take longer on long toss and you miss the first 5 minutes team defense, you're okay. So understanding on your side, a little organization, obviously guys sticking to their plan. I think just that communication overall can just help it flow. Like obviously you're making it work, but
that's the key, communication, right?
Yeah, if it's a Friday before Saturday game and your starter so the next day, like obviously you don't want him rifling balls, down the third base line to first base on bunties or whatnot. But maybe your head coach didn't know that he had a bull, whatever it may be. So being able to just kind of everyone on the same page, so no one's like, oh, you got to throw today. Oh no, I'm not supposed to.
And the thing is, like, what I like to do is on Monday I'll send out the plan for the week for our arms, like what we're gonna do throwing wise this week. And obviously, like not every day is the same. Like not everything's gonna go as script. Like we don't know how our arms gonna feel, so
you just on the fly.
Give them parameters.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what ultimately matters. You have to have freedom within your program to be able to give them some autonomy and like what they're trying to do, and hopefully that they can stay on track as best they can health-wise.
Right. Coach just getting used to it. I feel like a lot of coaches just aren't used to it. It sounds like this daunting task, right? A lot of coaches just don't have that idea of how it flows yet. But if they can be super specific on their end, like you're saying, like coaches out there, it's not as daunting as you may seem if you do it the correct way on your end.
Yeah.
So you tell your players, let them know, get it done. And then over time, you're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this.
All players crave is guidance. Like they want that little bit of guidance. Like, hey, like what am I supposed to do today? Because not all guys are going to be like, I know exactly what I'm going to need to do today.
Right.
You're going to have your rare few guys that they're going to be able to do that, but a lot of guys are just looking for like, hey, like what am I supposed to do? So if you just give that to them early in the week, like, hey, you're going to know exactly what days you're going to be able to be able to fill in 100% to your best. So that's what we try to accomplish.
Yeah.
Sweet. I guess just any tips you have for a coach trying to implement some of the stuff, or either a coach implementing this, or maybe a player that's trying to get their stuff done. It's either taking too long or their coach won't let them do it.
I'll just touch on the implementation side. Is like if you don't understand the drill, don't do it.
Huge one.
That's the biggest thing.
If
you're throwing pivot picks that look like you're hucking grenades, it's probably not right. If your roll-ins look like you're walking windups, you're probably not doing it right. Just make sure that you're able to be around the drills like when guys are doing them, because like each number of throws matters, and you're trying to correct movement, like be involved in it and make sure that you're actively coaching it, but also giving them freedom. Don't be so freaking hands-on when it comes to the plyo ball. Let them figure it out a lot of times, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, you touched on it earlier, but that freedom, that autonomy to one, kind of just explore plyo drills. Explore movement. Like, hey, I'm going to try this cue.
Feel something. Yeah.
Or, as you said, movement prep, or just like, I really don't like doing the wrist weights for this. Maybe just bang them for that day.
Absolutely.
But giving your players that freedom, obviously being there to, I like almost thinking of us as what's the guardrails, like on the bowling alley, or the bumpers. So you're holding them in this lane, but they have the freedom to move within that lane, right? You're just kind of like, hey, we're just going to reel it in, but you have the freedom to explore different things within this window.
The little realm.
But yeah, man, I think it's obviously you're implementing it well. Season got cut short, but that's about all I got for you. So thanks for coming on.
Hopefully somebody out there takes that and implements it. I think it's going to be really helpful for our guys.
It's definitely doable to implement Driveline and all of the plyo balls and all of the tools, warm-up and recovery routines at practice. In a team practice you have 23 guys, which I feel like is probably on the upper end as far as
big pitching staff.
Yeah. So you're a first-year coach and you're doing it and you're killing it.
Yeah, we're
and
trying.
hell yeah. Well, good luck in the future, dude. And
Appreciate it.
thanks for coming on, Joey.
All right, man. Thank
Solid,
you.
man.
Steve.
Good job, brother.